Hey guys, Dr. Michael Young here. We're getting ready to do our 7th session, 7th module. This is from chapter 10. We're skipping a few chapters. Today's topic, we're talking about motivation. I usually start off my discussions of motivations by asking people to think about a situation in which you were very motivated. Now think of a situation in which you were not motivated. And what caused that? What are the factors that made you want to put forth a lot of effort into achieving something? And what are the factors that made you resist putting a lot of effort into achieving something? So think about that. We can all think about situations in which we felt motivated and which we felt unmotivated. Motivation is a real meat and potatoes topic for management in particular. We know that motivation is an important factor in terms of organizational productivity, employee satisfaction, engagement, employee experience. All of these things are closely related to company success, which as future managers is what you're shooting for. Two basic types of motivation. We can either be rewarded for internal reasons, or we can be rewarded for external reasons. Internal reasons are things like pride, sense of achievement. You just enjoy doing it. You get into the zone, so to speak, and you kind of lose yourself, and you would do it even if you weren't getting paid. Extrinsic rewards are something that comes from outside of you. Recognition of good work. This can be pay raises, praise, or promotions. All of these things are external. Now, when you're working your job, you may have a combination of these things, but it's very common that we divide motivators into both either intrinsic or extrinsic. One of the first things we can say about motivation is the Hawthorne effect. You may have heard of something called the Hawthorne effect. The Hawthorne effect says that just by watching people, observing them, when they know that they're being watched and studied, they'll tend to work differently. They'll behave differently. And what they did is they started moving the light up and down, and it was a plant in New York, a General Electric plant, I believe. And they noticed that whenever they started watching them, that they started to work better. And this is, I guess you could call this like the placebo effect in psychology, because they didn't really do anything to make anything different, but just the fact that they were being watched meant that people began to work harder. One of the most famous theories in all of motivation is a theory by a guy named Abraham Maslow. This is Maslow's hierarchy of needs. And you may have seen this in some of your high school classes, because this is something that it's been around a long time, probably the most famous motivational theory of all time. Again, a guy named Abraham Maslow, and he devised this pyramid, if you will, or hierarchy, in which he said, we have down here physiological needs. We need food, clothing, and shelter. And once we have those satisfied, we have a need to feel safe. And then once we feel safe and secure, and we have our physiological needs, we move up to the next rung of the hierarchy, which is social needs. We want to have friends and people that we socialize with. And then once we get that higher rung of the hierarchy met, then we move up to esteem needs. We begin to want to feel good about ourselves, self-esteem. And then finally, the last one is self-actualization. And this is a very broad category that just means finding my place in the universe, the most broad of all. And notice that these are in a hierarchy, and you don't start working on self-actualization if you're hungry, right? And so the implication is that you need to look at a group of people or a person and find out where they are in the hierarchy, and then try to motivate them with something that they need. And again, they will satisfy this need first, and this, and then this, and then this, and then this. It's quite rigid. It is a hierarchy. Another very famous theory is Hertzberg's motivating factors. And Hertzberg asked this question before he began his research. What creates enthusiasm for workers and makes them want to work to full potential? And he said, Job content factors were more important than things like pay. Job environment factors maintained satisfaction but did not motivate employees. So, in other words, the content factors versus the environmental factors were more important in really motivating people. So he had two types of factors. Motivators, which were the content factors, were job factors that caused employees to be productive and gave them satisfaction. Then he had another group of factors that said, hey, you got to do these things. These are hygiene factors that if you don't do them, then workers won't even show up. This is the starting point. You got to have the hygiene factors, but just having the hygiene factors won't necessarily make employees be motivated. What you need to motivate employees are the motivating factors. And along those lines, figure 10.2, here are. Let's start with the hygiene factors. Let me move my video out of the way here. The hygiene factors are things like policy and administration. Yeah, we got to have it, but it doesn't make me excited. Supervision. Yeah, we got to have it, but it doesn't make me excited. Working conditions, the interpersonal relationships with coworkers, salary status, job security. All these things, yeah, we got to have them, but yeah, they don't make me excited about my job. If you really want to make me excited about my job, you got to motivate me. And the way you motivate me is through motivators. Motivators, the work itself. Is it interesting? Is it rewarding? Do I feel a sense of achievement? Do I feel a sense of responsibility? Do I feel a sense of recognition? Is there a chance for growth and advancement? All of these things are going to make me jump out of bed in the morning and rush into my job. Not these things, right? So motivating factors are the things that actually get people motivated. Hygiene factors, we got to have them just because they're part of the game, but they're not necessarily going to make people motivated. Next one we're going to look at is a guy named McGregor. Douglas McGregor, he did this study. This is an original study, I'm going to say, from the 1960s. It's an oldie. I studied it back in the 1980s, and it was already old then. Yeah, so this is an oldie, but a classic, and you need to know it. You'll hear people talk about Theory X and Theory Y on the job. And the way McGregor did this is he went out and rather than looking at employees, he looked at managers. And some managers he called Theory X, and others he called Theory Y. Theory X managers thought that workers don't like to work and seek to avoid it. You gotta force them, you gotta control them, you gotta direct them, you gotta threaten them with punishment in order to get them to work. Workers want to be directed and they avoid responsibility. They want to let other people take responsibility for their lives. Primary fears are carrots and sticks. You either punish them for their bad behavior or reward them when they do something well. On the other hand, Theory Y people, Theory Y managers that would be this hand. This is the other hand, okay? This is the hand. This is the other hand. Theory Y people, hey, I want to work. I want to achieve something. Workers will work to goals to which they're committed. Commitment to goals depends on the perceived rewards. Most people want responsibility. They want to take charge of their lives. They want to feel like they're contributing to society. People can use creativity to solve problems. Intellectual capacity is only partially realized in most people. Most people are curious and would rather work. And people are motivated by a variety of awards. So which of these theories do you think is more correct? Think about yourself. Would you say you're more Theory X or Theory Y? Are you more like, don't really want to work? And, need to be pushed and punished, threatened with F in order to make you work in a class? Or are you more like Theory Y, wanting to develop yourself, wanting to contribute to something? Hey, which of these do you think is more correct? Actually, in actuality, this is kind of simplistic, black or white thinking, right? There are times, I'm just speaking for myself, when I've not wanted to do something and had needed to be coerced and needed to be threatened. There are also times where I've wanted to take more responsibility. I think it depends on, the context. maybe age. It also would depend on education. Different groups of employees would respond differently to different types of motivators, let's say. Some might be theory X and some might be theory Y. But it is an interesting way to think about it. Which of these is more correct, and how do you motivate people? Actually, my favorite answer is a combination of theory X and theory Y. Next theory we're going to talk about is one called expectancy theory. This is a famous theory in motivation. And it says that the expectations of the outcome are going to play a role in how motivated a person is. If you don't feel like you can do something, if you don't feel like you have it in you to do it, you are not going to be motivated. That's just a fact, right? If you don't think it can be done, if you don't think that you can achieve it, then why try? It's impossible. Also, what's my reward? Is it something that I really want? Is the reward worth the effort? Will I actually get it? We got a simple little flow chart here that points out this relationship. Can I do it? Yes. Well, I may be motivated. No, not motivated. Yes. What do I get out of it? Is it something that I really want? Motivated. Is it something I don't care about? No, I'm not motivated. Let's suppose that you got to stay up all night to get an A on an exam. And if you get the A on the exam, you will get an A in the course. Well, can I do it? Hey, I don't know about you, but I've felt very overwhelmed in some of the classes I've taken over my lifetime. And if you feel like you can't do it, you're just not going to want to try. Why try? It's impossible, right? And then we might say, oh, so what? A, B, A. You know, we're human. There are times when you've got to cut your losses. And there may be another course that you need to do, or there may be a certain task that needs to be achieved. How much do you really want that reward? Yeah, I can work 60 hours a week, but is that extra $20,000 a year worth it? I mean, you may ruin your health. So, again, expectancy theory just says expectancy, what a worker expects is going to affect their motivation. If these links are broken, then the worker's not going to be motivated. Putting some of these theories into action, there is a motivational strategy that's called job enrichment. And it's based on ideas from this that if we make a job more interesting or more enriching, this would be a better word since we are talking about job enrichment, then the workers will be more motivated. And there are 5 characteristics of work that affect motivation according to this job enrichment strategy. If there's a lot of variety within the skill, if you can identify the task, what does that mean? If at the end of the day you can say, yeah, I did that. I had a play, I had something to do with this, and I feel good about that. I can identify with what I've done. Task significance. Was this significant? I mean, is what I'm doing in my job trivial, or am I making some sort of significant contribution? Next one is autonomy. Am I allowed to make decisions on my own? Believe it or not, according to this job enrichment strategy, those people that have more autonomy are going to be more motivated. And finally, feedback. Do I know when I'm doing the job well? Am I given feedback so that I can know that I'm making progress? Taking that a little bit further, job enlargement means this is a job enrichment strategy that involves combining a series of tasks into one challenging and interesting assessment. Job rotation, a job enrichment strategy that involves moving employees from one job to another. In other words, you keep it interesting. Keep the tasks changing. All right, that's it for today, guys. I hope this was useful to you. I feel like you're motivated. I hope you feel like you can do anything. Good luck, and I'll see you for the next module.